When moving to New York, I found this picture, this mugshot study in the streets. It was actually a piece of paper blowing in the streets, and I picked it up. Surprisingly, it had this portrait of an individual whose face seemed incredibly young and sympathetic. I thought immediately he would be a perfect candidate for a portrait. But then I started looking even more closely. There were jewels that seemed culturally specific. There were infractions that said exactly what he had done, his social security number, where he lived. All of these markings that said something about him, very specifically a place and time. But it also said so much about what portraiture is, the reveal, the choice to reveal, what do you reveal, and who gets to do it. In this particular type of portraiture, though, it was in full display, frontal, side. It was the catalyst for a new thinking about portraiture and its possibilities.
Imagine a world where the classic art pieces of the past are completely reimagined with a modern and diverse twist. Like this, the famous 1800 portrait of Napoleon crossing the Alps. It becomes this, bright colors, camouflage pants, and Timberland boots. Or this portrait of a couple from the 1600s becomes this, two modern young men in t-shirts and casual pants. It all springs from the vivid imagination of the popular American artist Kehinde Wiley, challenging the viewer to think deeply about the dynamics of power and race. And the world is taking note. Kehinde Wiley, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So of all those pictures, which are really amazing and fabulous, the one of Napoleon crossing the Alps just got me, because when I was a little girl, I had a book on horses, and guess what? That was in that book. Yeah. And here I see you making it into a modern masterpiece.
That's right.
What's your point? What's the objective of putting these, modern faces in this old art?
Well, art is about communicating power, and it's been that way for hundreds of years. Artists have been very good at working for the church and for the state, communicating the aspirations of a society. What I choose to do is to take people who happen to look like me, black and brown people all over the world increasingly, and to allow them to occupy that field of power. The humanity of the people in my paintings is what I'm about. I'm about looking at each of those perceived menacing black men that you see in the streets all over the place. People that you oftentimes will walk past without assuming that they have the same humanity, fears that we all do. There is nothing menacing when you happen to walk through the world in this body. I understand blackness from the inside out. What my goal is to allow the world to see the humanity that I know personally to be the truth.
And you've also said that, you are putting brown and black faces into a world of art that's only ever really had white faces. And also, people have said that actually your work should startle. It should startle anyone, regardless of race, creed, or color.
Well, the world's a scary place. The role of an artist is to look at that world as it is and to imagine alternate possibilities, but also to heighten what actually is. What can I do as an artist that hasn't already been done before? Look closer. My job is to walk through the streets, find someone who's minding their own business, trying to get to work, stopping them. The next thing you know, they're hanging on a great museum throughout the world. And it allows us to slow down and to say yes to these people, yes to these experiences, yes to these stories. Artists are people who occupy different spaces, and I think a lot of us, not only artists, but people of color, know what it means to code switch. Being able to occupy multiple spaces, in a way, exemplifies where America is. The conflicting twin narratives that can be at once appalling and beguiling exist in all of us, and I think that's part of what my work is about.
What I was always struck by whenever I saw his portraits was the degree to which they challenged our conventional views of power and privilege.
Historically, portraiture has always been about saying yes to things that we want to celebrate. But I think also the portrait has been, the commissioned portrait has oftentimes been about a society saying, who are the people that we collectively want to honor? And particularly with a presidential portrait, this is the highest aspect of that tradition. And it's been, I can't tell you, an extraordinary honor to be able to participate in that. I think on a personal level, the fact that the first African-American president has chosen me, an African-American man, to create that moment. It is, even at this moment, you know, it's just like something that you feel on a very visceral level, like what this is. My hands were shaking when I was making this portrait because this is the real thing. This is it, showtime. And there's going to be young kids who want to feel that they are capable of participating in art and participating in this conversation. How do you compare that to anything? This is extraordinary.